Word, confirmation. Description, denotes the act of verifying or confirming something is true or correct. It represents official or positive acknowledgement, often following a request or proposal. It implies assurance and validation of information or an agreement. Phrases of example. First, she offered confirmation that she understood the situation. Second, the official confirmation of his appointment came in the post. Third, there was no need for confirmation. Her silence spoke volumes. Word, roll. Description refers to a round object that rotates or a movement around an axis. It can describe a loaf of bread, a wave, or the action of something turning over and around. It can also mean a list or a count. Phrases of example. First, the river seemed to roll onward toward an unknown sea. Second, a wave of laughter rolled through the room. Third, the dice roll decided his fate. Word, age. Description refers to the length of time someone or something has existed. It can also describe a period of history or a stage in someone's life. It's a common word used to describe how old someone is or how long something has been around. Phrases of example. First, he was of an age when every nerve is a telegraph wire, in full operation. Second, but he had a certain charm that came with age, like the patina on old wood. Third, age is a matter of mind over matter. Word, back. Description means located or situated at the rear of something. It indicates a position furthest from the front or a place of support, commonly used to describe location or provide assistance. Phrases of example. First, she looked at him with a back look that he did not understand. Second, there was a faint, faraway look in his back eyes. Third, he was looking for a back door, a way out. Word, goods. Description refers to tangible items or products that are bought and sold, often merchandise. It's used to describe items available for sale or trade. Goods distinguishes items from services, like retail goods or exported goods. Phrases of example. First, the merchant traded goods, bartering for prosperity and renown. Second, these goods belong to everyone and are free. Third, he piled the goods, a treasure of spices and silks. Word, scary. Description describes something that causes fear or makes you feel frightened. It can refer to a person, place, or situation that evokes a feeling of apprehension or anxiety, often used to express a sense of unease or dread. Phrases of example. First, it was a scary place, and I didn't want to go there. Second, the shadows were long and scary, and the wind howled. Third, the world is a scary place, but we must face it. Word, stand. Description means to be on your feet or to remain in an upright position. It can also mean to tolerate or allow something to happen. It's a basic action describing posture or endurance. Phrases of example. First, I will stand for you always. Second, you must stand up and fight for what you believe in. Third, she could not stand the thought of leaving him. Word, brand. Description refers to a name, term, design, or symbol used to identify a product. It can also mean a category of products with a shared image. It's used to distinguish goods or services from competitors and convey a specific reputation or quality. Phrases of example. First, she wore a new brand of lipstick, a startling crimson. Second, a company's brand is more than a logo or a name. Third, he carried a brand of courage that would not fail. Word, sauce. Description, a flavorful liquid or semi-liquid preparation used to add flavor to food. It can be poured over, mixed into, or served alongside dishes, enhancing their taste and adding moisture. It's a common ingredient in many cuisines. Phrases of example. First, she held the plate with the sauce. Second, the tomato sauce tasted of summer. Third, a rich brown sauce coated the steak. Word, pick. Description means to choose or select something from a group. It can also mean to gather something, like fruit from a tree, or to hit someone or something with your hand. It's a common verb used in everyday conversations. Phrases of example. First, I pick up the gun and look at it. Second, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Third, pick a number, any number. Word, capable. Description means having the ability or qualities needed to do something. It describes someone or something possessing the skills, power, or potential to perform a particular action or task effectively. It implies competence and ability. Phrases of example. First, he was a capable young man, quick to learn and eager to please. Second, only those capable of seeing the invisible can understand the truth. Third, she was capable of great cruelty, but also great kindness. Word, substance. Description refers to matter that has mass and takes up space. It can be solid, liquid, or gas. It's used to describe materials, like chemicals or food, and often appears in scientific or technical contexts. Phrases of example. First, a strange substance had coated the floor, smelling faintly of almonds. Second, it's a potent substance, capable of both creation and destruction. Third, the air itself felt like a tangible substance, thick with humidity. Word, victim. Description refers to someone who has experienced harm, loss, or suffering, often due to a crime or accident. It describes someone who has been negatively affected by an event and may require help or compensation. Phrases of example. First, I am a victim, but I am still alive. Second, he became the victim of his own ambition. Third, the world is full of victims, but few are willing to help. Word, case. Description refers to a situation or instance of something happening. It can also mean a container for carrying things or a legal matter brought before a court. It's a common word used to describe a specific event or circumstance. Phrases of example. First, in this case, I'm not sure what to do. Second, every case is important, and every client deserves the best defense. Third, the case was closed, but the questions remained unanswered. Word, single. Description means one. It describes something that is not divided into parts or not accompanied by others. It can refer to one item, one person, or a solitary state. It's often used to describe quantity or being alone. Phrases of example. First, she was a single woman with a mysterious past. Second, he felt like a single grain of sand on a vast beach. Third, a single spark can start a fire. Word, prohibit. Description means to formally or officially forbid something. It implies a rule or law is being enforced, preventing an action or behavior. It's used when describing restrictions or regulations, often in a legal or official context. Phrases of example. First, they were forbidden to speak of it, but the longing remained. Second, the law did not prohibit the making of such weapons. Third, no one should prohibit another from seeking truth. Word, disappointing. Description describes something that fails to meet expectations or causes sadness due to unmet hopes. It signifies a negative outcome or a situation that is less good than anticipated, evoking a feeling of dissatisfaction or regret. Phrases of example. First, the news was disappointing, but not unexpected. Second, it was a disappointing end to a promising journey. Third, the film was disappointing, lacking the depth of the book. Word, tie. Description, a connection or bond between things. It can be a knot made by looping string or ribbon. It can also refer to a draw in a contest where no one wins. It signifies a link, connection, or a state of equality. Phrases of example. First, he adjusted his tie, a nervous habit he's had since childhood. Second, a loose tie and a careless shrug. Third, she fastened the tie with a practiced hand. Word, shy. Description describes someone who is timid and uncomfortable in social situations. It implies a lack of confidence and a tendency to avoid interaction with others. Often used to describe someone who feels nervous or self-conscious around people. Phrases of example. First, he was a shy boy, lost in a world of his own making. Second, she was shy, but she had a fire in her heart. Third, even the shyest person has their moment. Word, wander. Description: to wander means to move around without a clear destination or purpose, often in a leisurely way. It suggests a lack of direction and can imply exploration or aimless strolling. It's often used to describe movement in a natural or rural setting. Phrases of example. First, I wander where you wander, and I feel the same as you. Second, let me wander, let me stray, let me be lost. Third, they wander through the streets, their faces etched with hardship and resignation. Word, phenomenon. Description refers to an observable fact or event, often unusual or difficult to explain. It describes something that happens or exists, often requiring study or investigation. It's used to describe events, processes, or conditions that are noticed and analyzed. Phrases of example. First, the phenomenon of grief is more than just sadness. It's a transformative experience. Second, the inexplicable phenomenon of loss can leave one adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Third, the phenomenon of collective memory shapes how we understand our history. Word, separate. Description means to divide or keep apart from something else. It describes the act of creating a distinction between two or more things, or to be distinct and unconnected. This can refer to physical separation or a more abstract difference. Phrases of example. First, the two sides looked at each other. Second, we must separate ourselves from the world's noise and find our own path. Third, though separated by distance, our hearts remain connected. Word, wool. Description refers to the soft, natural fiber obtained from sheep and other animals. It's commonly used to make yarn, fabric, and clothing. It can also describe something cozy or warm, referencing the feeling of wool garments. Phrases of example. First, she pulled the wool over my eyes, and I believed every word she said. Second, he felt the wool scratching against his skin, an uncomfortable reminder of his surroundings. Third, the shepherd's wool was coarse and smelled of the fields. Word, fit. Description refers to a custom-made or perfectly suited garment, often implying a high level of tailoring and expense. It can also describe a precise or ideal match between two things, suggesting harmony or congruence. Phrases of example. First, the ill. Second, a perfect fit, she thought, for someone of his temperament. Third, it was a good fit, a partnership born of shared ambition. Word, presidential. Description relating to the president of a country or the office of president. It describes things connected to the president's role, policies, or administration. It's often used in formal or political contexts. Phrases of example. First, the presidential election was a turning point in American history. Second, his views on the presidential address were surprisingly unconventional. Third, the weight of presidential power is immense, and few are truly prepared for it. Word, leg. Description refers to a limb used for walking. It's part of the human body, connecting the thigh to the foot. It's a basic body part and often used when talking about movement or posture. Phrases of example. First, he had a wooden leg, which he was not sorry to have lost. Second, she stumbled, catching herself on his leg for support. Third, he planted his leg firmly on the ground, ready to face whatever came. Word, eternal. Description denotes something without end, lasting forever. It suggests timelessness and permanence, often used in philosophical, religious, or poetic contexts. It implies a state beyond the limitations of time. Phrases of example. First, the eternal mysteries of the universe demand a response of humility. Second, he felt an eternal longing for what was lost. Third, an eternal question haunts every human heart. Word, racing. Description, refers to a competitive sport or activity involving speed. It can describe a contest between people or animals, or the act of moving very quickly. It's commonly used in contexts of motorsports, athletics, or any fast-paced pursuit. Phrases of example. First, the racing of the wind in his ears was a familiar comfort. Second, he watched the racing pigeons circle overhead, a blur of feathers. Third, the annual racing of the snails was a cherished tradition. Word, schedule. Description, means to arrange or plan events in a specific order or time. It implies setting up appointments, meetings, or activities in advance, often using a calendar or timetable to organize them effectively. Phrases of example. First, we schedule our lives to avoid trouble. Second, they schedule their days with the meticulous precision of a Swiss watch. Third, I will schedule a meeting, and we can discuss this further. Word, law. Description, a rule that people must obey. It's a guideline for behavior, often made by a government or authority. Breaking a law can result in penalties or consequences. It establishes what is allowed and not allowed. Phrases of example. First, the law is always a reflection of the will of the stronger. Second, there is no law, and therefore no sin. Third, the law of the jungle is justice and might. Word, listing. Description, a detailed enumeration or catalog of items. It refers to a record or inventory of things, often presented in a structured format. It's used when describing a compilation of things, like properties for sale or ingredients in a recipe. Phrases of example. First, the listing of virtues is no substitute for virtue. Second, a lengthy listing of grievances was presented to the court. Third, the inventory listing revealed a surprising lack of essential supplies. Word, bus. Description, a large vehicle that carries many passengers. It's a common way to travel around a city or town. You can ride a bus to school, work, or the store. Phrases of example. First, he took the bus to the city, hoping for a better life. Second, the old bus rumbled down the road, filled with weary travelers. Third, she waited at the bus stop, lost in her thoughts. Word, highway. Description, a major road for long-distance travel, typically wider than a regular road and with divided lanes. It's designed for high-speed traffic and connects cities or states. Think of it as a key route for journeys. Phrases of example. First, the highway is now a ribbon of asphalt. Second, they drove down the highway, lost in thought. Third, the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. Word, constant. Description, describes something that happens or exists without stopping or changing. It suggests a lack of variation or interruption, used to emphasize the ongoing and uninterrupted nature of something. Phrases of example. First, the only constant is change. Second, the only constant in life is God. Third, a constant struggle is necessary. Word, distinctive. Description, means noticeably different from what is ordinary or expected. It describes something that stands out due to unique qualities or characteristics, setting it apart from others. It suggests a remarkable or memorable attribute. Phrases of example. First, its distinctive charm was undeniable, a quiet strength that drew them in. Second, he possessed a distinctive gait, a restless energy that set him apart. Third, the house had a distinctive scent, a blend of old books and forgotten dreams. Word, flee. Description, means to run away from a place or situation of danger or unpleasantness. It suggests a hurried and often desperate escape, implying a threat or a desire to avoid something negative. It's more dramatic than simply leave. Phrases of example. First, he would flee from the city, seeking refuge in the tranquil countryside. Second, the villagers fled the volcano, fear etched on their faces. Third, I fled the country, hoping to escape the political turmoil. Word catch. Description refers to an animal, typically a fish or other wildlife, that has been successfully trapped or seized. It can also describe the act of capturing something or the number of such captures achieved. Phrases of example. First, he had a lucky catch, a good one, solid and heavy. Second, there's a catch in everything, you know. Third, a catch is always a thing to consider carefully. Word virus. Description, a tiny organism that can cause disease. It's too small to see without a microscope and spreads easily, often making people sick. It can infect animals and plants too. Phrases of example. First, the virus of envy spread quickly through the court. Second, a virus of the mind, that's what hate is. Third, the whole world was infected with a virus of discontent. Word worth. Description represents the value or importance of something. It can refer to monetary value, but also to the significance, merit, or usefulness of a person, object, or idea. It implies a judgment about the quality or benefit something provides. Phrases of example. First, the measure of a man is what he does with what he has. Second, it is not worth the trouble to fight over the past. Third, a life's work is its worth. Word breed. Description refers to a category or race of animals or plants that have inherited specific characteristics. It denotes a distinct lineage or variety within a species, often resulting from selective breeding or natural evolution. It is used in contexts of genetics and classification. Phrases of example. First, a new breed of soldiers is forged in the heat of war. Second, the breed of men who can endure this is small. Third, we are a new breed now, different from what we once were. Word tactical. Description describes actions or plans intended to gain an advantage in a specific situation, often in a competitive setting. It suggests careful planning and strategic thinking to achieve a particular goal, often involving calculated maneuvers. Phrases of example. First, his tactical decisions proved disastrous, and the campaign faltered. Second, the general's tactical brilliance secured victory, but at a terrible cost. Third, her tactical maneuvering in the negotiations impressed everyone present. Word conversation. Description, a talk between people. It's an exchange of words and ideas. It can be short or long, formal or informal, and often happens face to face, but can also be written. Phrases of example. First, a friendly conversation is a delightful thing. Second, the conversation was deep and engaging. Third, we had a short conversation about the weather. Word transfer. Description refers to the action of moving something from one place or person to another. It can involve physical objects, responsibilities, or even money. It suggests a change of ownership or location, often with a formal or official element. Phrases of example. First, the transfer of power is a delicate operation. Second, a transfer of funds was detected. Third, the transfer was an act of desperation. Word maths. Description, it's a shortened form of mathematics, referring to the study of numbers, calculations, shapes, and problem solving. It's a common subject taught in schools and involves learning formulas and equations. Phrases of example. First, it's a strange thing, maths, and very difficult. Second, maths isn't the only subject I'm bad at. Third, I never cared for maths or science. Word commentary. Description, a formal explanation or judgment about an event, process, or work of art. It provides analysis, interpretation, and often a critical perspective. Think of it as an expert's insightful observations and opinions. Phrases of example. First, a commentary on the human condition, rife with irony and despair. Second, it's a bitter commentary on power and corruption. Third, the book offers a scathing commentary, on the societal norms of the time. Word t-shirt. Description, a basic item of clothing. It's a casual top, usually made of cotton, with short sleeves and a round neck. It's a simple and comfortable garment often worn for everyday activities. Phrases of example. First, he wore a faded tee. Second, she was wearing a simple tee. Third, the boy's favorite tea. Word butter. Description, a creamy food made from milk or cream. It's often spread on bread or used in cooking. It's a common food item and a basic ingredient in many recipes. Phrases of example. First, she spread butter on her toast, a simple pleasure. Second, he added a knob of butter to his tea, a comforting ritual. Third, the baker's bread was rich with butter and flour. Word bicycle. Description, a two-wheeled vehicle propelled by pedals. It's a common mode of transportation, often used for recreation or short commutes. It's a simple machine that people can ride for fun or getting around. Phrases of example. First, she was a woman who rode a bicycle. Second, the whole world was a dancing bicycle on a chain. Third, he was a man who lived his life with a bicycle in his heart. Word body. Description refers to the physical structure of a person or animal. It can also mean the main part of something, like a car body. It is a common word used to describe the human form or the material composition of an object. Phrases of example. First, a man can be destroyed but not defeated. Second, he was a man who lived his life with a terrible body. Third, the whole world was a strange and terrible body. Word guitar. Description, a musical instrument with strings that you play by plucking them. It's a popular instrument for playing music, often used in many genres, and is something you can hold and play. Phrases of example. First, she strummed her guitar, filling the room with a gentle melody. Second, he carried a worn guitar case, a constant companion on his journey. Third, the troubadour played his guitar, and the villagers gathered to listen.